Jarret Stoll, and you do a great job on the LA Kings broadcasts, and certainly Kings fans fondly recall those Cup runs. I mentioned the seeds. This is something that Ruppers pointed out before. When you guys were such an underdog, what was Williams like in the room before some of those biggest games?
Well, first thing that comes to mind is he was a gamer. He was a guy that just his best games were the biggest games that we needed, and we needed to win. And whether it's playoffs or not, like even leading down, going down the stretch there in 2012, and we're in and out of the playoffs. We weren't a very consistent team. And Justin, just kind of the veteran leadership kind of guy that he was, and already had won a Stanley Cup in 2006, and that helped us a lot. That helped us. He calmed us down a lot in a lot of different situations and a lot of different tough games. And he was just that guy that we looked to. And I think he loved that. He took that on. He felt pride with that. He was just, he was a great teammate. There's just so many ways why he was a great teammate, but he was so consistent. And I think that's all you can ask for. Being an athlete, you got to be consistent and be a good teammate, and good things will happen.
Stoll, you just mentioned that he's a gamer, and that's one of the things I think about when I think of those Kings teams that when you guys won the Cups was, you just mentioned it, you weren't a President's Trophy winning team in the regular season, but when it was time to play, it was like, you don't want to play the Los Angeles Kings. I think Justin Williams is a big reason why. Who are some of those other guys on that team that made that team so special? Because you just knew, we just got to get in. We got to get in because we got gamers throughout this lineup.
Well, I think the first thing, and I think a lot of people would agree, you got to have good goaltending to win any kind of championship, especially the Stanley Cup. So we had that. We had Jonathan Quick. Obviously, he was so good in 2012. He was great in 2014, but 2012 he was just another level. And when you got a guy like that, you can afford to make some mistakes here and there. And we were a good defensive team. We always had been those years leading up to those Cups. And when you're a good defensive team like that, you don't give up much, and then you got to try and beat Jonathan. That's pretty tough. And then we felt that we were a hard team to play against. And then if you got to beat us, you got to beat us 4 times. So we felt pretty good about that.
The San Jose Sharks had beaten you 3 times, and we're going to get to that. I want to say this, piggybacking on what Ruppers said, not a President's Trophy winner. When Anaheim kept winning the division, Daryl Sutter would say, hasn't meant anything for 50 years. And that went over huge. In Anaheim, they hated him.
You sound similar to him. Say it again.
Oh, thank you. You couldn't pay me a better compliment. Let's get back to that Sharks series. You're down 3-0, and there's a real sense that you guys are done. How key was Justin Williams in the reverse sweep?
Yeah, those are the games that, being a gamer, when you're up against the wall, you're facing elimination, those types of games. We all know he's Mr. Game 7. Facing elimination is when he plays his best. And, losing Game 3, we lost in overtime on a bad bounce, and then you're down 3-0. And, our mindset, and Daryl helped a lot with that too. He was so good, and the way he thought, the way he coached us was all about just the next game. And it's cliche, I know, but we just had to win Game 4. And then I think in most series, no matter what the situation is, Game 5 is always a pivotal game. It was in the World Series this year, and in a lot of the playoffs rounds in baseball, it was. So we felt that Game 5 was the most important game to go into San Jose. They got to win that game. If they don't win that game, then they're reeling. They got to come back to Staples Center, and it's a tough series then. So we won Game 5 pretty handily, I think. And I know I was pretty surprised by the way they came out in Game 5, thinking that they could, have a chance to knock us out at home here and not want to go back to LA. So I was surprised with the way they came out. We came out great. And then Game 6, we're not losing Game 6 at home. That was just the mindset and mentality we had. And then Game 7 is, it's Game 7. So
I always heard a lot about you as a locker room guy, and take us inside that Kings locker room, because we've interviewed Justin Williams a couple times, and he doesn't really like being called Mr. Game 7. So that makes me think, if I'm his teammate and he doesn't like to be called that, certainly you're all over him. So how do you guys manage that with this guy? Like, do you just give him all, well, we got a Game 7, Jay Will, let's go. This is your stage, or how do you handle that?
Yeah, we were all going to take the night off in Game 7s. We're like, we're good. We'll just sit back and watch you, bud. But yeah, you know, you need everybody going and clicking. And yeah, it was crazy. He was just a guy that was always in those right spots. You know, if he didn't have the goal, he was in and around the net. He created it somehow. You look at the Game 7 goal, the overtime goal Alec Martinez scored in 2014, and that's just Justin winning a battle in the corner, getting it back to Alec and going to the net, and nothing special, nothing fancy, but that's the kind of player Justin was too. Like he won't be mad at me saying this, but I don't think Justin was the greatest skater. He definitely didn't have the hardest shot, but he was very, very smart. He knew when to get it off. You know, when you got a guy that's that smart, you know, you got a Wayne Gretzky, you just think of someone like that wasn't a great skater, didn't have a hard shot, but thought the game so well, 2 or 3 plays ahead. And that was kind of the way Justin was.
28th pick overall in the 2000 draft. His tools were good, but as you point out, he didn't go at the top of the draft. Because Justin had so many people that wanted to speak to him, we were selective about who we chose. You obviously are so good on television, we wanted to come to you. But you get asked a lot of times about Justin Williams and pumping his tires. How fatigued are you about this topic, if at all?
I'm sick of it. When I heard this, I love you guys. I watch you guys all the time. I'm a fan of the show, so that's why I'm on here. But yeah, he retired like what, a year ago, and we're still talking about this guy. Like, I'll talk about him all day long. But yeah, it's getting a little exhausting already. Sorry, Jeff.
We love watching you too. So thanks so much for coming on, Jarret Stoll. Thanks so much.
No problem. Thank you guys for having me.